The Wives of Wrestling podcast is different. And whether it's the world of pro wrestling or podcasts, being different is important.
Yes.
The Wives of Wrestling podcast on Podcast Heat on Mondays, which is really cool. They got a lot of great content there, and this is going to add to it. It features Kim Orton and Giovanna Angle with Jon Alba, which we know here from Central Florida, from our Florida territory. Yes, John. Well, here we have Kim Orton. Thank you so much, Kim. Kim is wife of WWE superstar Randy Orton. Oh, that's so great. That's so great, Kim. That was so great. Randy needs a dub, a second, somebody to fill in. You can do it.
I already RKO'd him, right? I just got to get the pose down good. I'm not good at it. I do it weird.
Oh, Kim. Hey, tell us, what is this podcast about? The Wives of Wrestling, explanatory there, but tell us a little more about it.
So the Wives of Wrestling, right? It sounds like we're going to be talking wrestling the whole time, right? But we are going to talk about wrestling because that's what our husbands do for a living. And my husband's been on TV and wrestling more than he's not, right? So we're definitely going to be talking about wrestling, but we're also going to be talking about like normal mom stuff, normal wife stuff, normal moving from, one state to another, making new friends, trying to be a mom and be a good mom, but also balancing, trying to find ourselves, right? Because I know I was like mom mode forever. And then trying to, find myself. What do I like to do? Because you lose that when you become a parent. You lose like who you are. And now I'm starting to rediscover that. And it's fun to talk about. I want to encourage people to be who they are and find a passion and go for it. Like me and Giovanna are doing right now. We were just stuck in mom mode for a really long time. And now happy hour with us is like we can have a drink and we can talk about our weekend and our days and just try to bring people in for fun, really.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because obviously you can talk about wrestling and you will touch on that, of course, with Randy and with Kurt Angle. I mean, bigger than life and what their careers. But this is cool because it also gives some insight of what the moms, the wives go through in just everyday life. And so it's almost like, hey, wrestling fans, we can bring you in and see what's going on. But hey, you don't have to be a wrestling fan. You can just be a mom, a wife.
Yeah.
And just say, this is things that we've gone through and maybe it'll help you out. Or maybe we just want to have some fun and tell some cool, fun stories.
Right. It's going to be all of that. We have a lot of cool little games on the show. And it's like we do a trivia thing where if it's a yes, it's true. And we have to hold up a Kurt doll. And then if it's false, it's RK no. And then we hold up a Randy doll. And like that game is so much fun to play. It really is.
I'm surprised Riddle, because I'm a big fan. So I love all this stuff. I'm surprised Riddle didn't come up with RK no.
Right. Oh, I think I might tell him. Like, pitch an idea to Vince, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Good idea. You're doing the whole thing right now with Chad and like that whole game show thing. They can do an RK no or it's bro. Like something, I don't know.
Kim, you're always thinking. You're always creating. You're
trying to be on my toes, man. I'm trying.
And was that always something, even growing up? You're from New York.
Yep.
And were you interested in pro wrestling and sports and even just talking and creating, doing things?
It's funny. I have a very big family and I'm half Italian, half Puerto Rican. So we run deep, right?
What a mix.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow. That's family ties right there.
Randy has, I kind of warned him off the bat. I'm like, I'm half Puerto Rican, I'm half Italian, and I'm an Aries. So it's like fire, fire, fire. Careful. So growing up, big family, right? So you're always trying to like fight for positioning. If you have a big family, that. You try to find your way in the family. We're always cracking jokes on each other. We're always giving each other shit. We're always, but it's all in good fun, right? And that's how I try to be with everybody I know. Like, I'll give Giovanna shit, I'll give John shit, and it's like, but in a loving way. And I want you to give me shit back, And Randy had to get used to that a little, because I don't think people really gave him too much shit, because they had this perception. It's like, oh, this motherfucker might beat me up, right? So like, people really didn't give him shit. And like, I'm constantly giving him shit. I'm like, how could you be the clumsiest person in the world, but the smoothest motherfucker in the ring? Like, I don't get that. How is that possible? Like, so stuff like that. So I grew up in Brooklyn, East New York, Brooklyn, until I was 12, right? Rough spot to grow up in. And then I moved to Queens. And then I lived in Queens till I was like 26. And then started having babies, moved upstate. So there's a lot of different layers to me, right? There's like ghetto Kim from Brooklyn, and then there's the street
Mom
kid.
Kim.
Yeah, exactly Mom Kim from Queens, and then I'm upstate Mom Kim, and like, it's all me. But like, I've had and now I'm Missouri Kim, which is weird, because everywhere I go, like, I will be in the nail salon, or I will be in Target, and no matter where I am, I'll just start talking, to the cashier or whatever. I'm like, oh, how are you? And they're like, how are you? Where are you from? Are you East Coast somewhere, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from New York. And they're like, why would you move to Missouri? And I'm like, because I love my husband, I'm like. But so like, I always talked a lot, I guess, because I grew up in a big family and all of my friends just ribbing each other and shit like that. But, I never thought that anything like this would be me. This is all very new to me. And it's almost like when I met Randy, right? I always say, like, butterfly effect, like, everything in my life, every decision I ever made led to that point, right? And I thank God, and I tell him the same thing. It's like, I thank God that I went with my gut, and him too, because gosh, like, we didn't even talk about this in the podcast yet, but he is a young man who's on TV, who has the world by its balls, and he meets a girl who lives fucking across the country, almost, like, totally different upbringing. He was a Midwestern boy, and had all of those Midwestern values and stuff like that. And I was just a rough kid from the street and hung out, and like, so very different upbringing, right? And had 3 kids. So like, the fact that he followed his gut and was like, I there's something about her, and so coming to this point now of doing this podcast, and we were like approached with it. And so, we got approached a couple of times to do a reality show.
I was even going to say, good. I'm glad you brought this up, because honestly, this was leading into my next part, because the podcast is almost like a reality show, but you're not following you guys 24/7. You're not following the Ortons and the Angles around 24/7.
Right.
This is once a week. you do your podcast, talk about things, get real, also have fun, et cetera, et cetera. But I remember watching WWE Table for Three. And it was so cool. And I love watching those types of shows anyway, but just to see the three of you get together and do that, I'm thinking, oh, did that sort of morph from that? Or were there other things involved? Or that had nothing to do with coming up with this?
That didn't have anything to do with coming up with this. I think me and Giovanna always talked about doing something, because when I met her, just like Randy, I met her at WrestleMania with her kids in the pool, and I had my kids, and we started talking, and it was like, oh my God, you're so cool. I feel like, it was like a sister vibe. Like we just totally clicked, right? And started talking immediately. And it was like, she could relate to everything that I was saying to her. And it's hard because friends I've grown up with, or, friends I've made, they don't really, like, I can say things to them and it's like, they don't really understand because they're not in the same situation. Like, you could say you understand something and try to understand it, but unless you're living it, it's different. And she gets it. And I've said this, like, she talks me down off my ledge sometimes, and she could be my voice of reason. And, and I appreciate her for that. And that's why we have such good conversations with each other. It's easy for us to vent to each other. It's easiest, we have 2 little girls. Her daughter is 2 weeks older than my youngest. And it's like, freaking Brooklyn. I mean, like, she's not pooping. Like, just stuff like that, and it's like, I just went through this with Letty, and, just regular conversations, but then also we're talking about, I'm so sad because my husband is going on a 2-week tour, and Randy was gone for 19 days, 2 days before I had Brooklyn. He was gone for 19 days. And I'm like, I could have her at any minute. You won't be here. Like, what if you can't make it back? You're so far away. And it's like, stressful things like that. And, most people don't have to deal with that. But then there are a lot of people, and this is where we can relate, that, their husbands travel for work and they're the only one home, taking care of the kids and food shopping and cleaning the house and driving to practices and trying to get shit done and staying up late on the phone with their husbands, but getting up at 7 to start your day. It's like, there's a lot. There's a lot. And I think people have the perception of, they must live like, they must have maids and chefs and, driving new cars all the time and shit like that. And it's like, that's awesome for people to live like that, but we don't live like that. I go food shopping. I do have somebody come clean every other week, but I'm cleaning everything until that point, like I just mopped my floors before I went into the shower because I had salt all over my floor from the snow. Like, so we're relatable in a different kind of way, and I don't even know if I just answered your question.
You did part
like,
of it. You did. Then you went on because we were talking about the creation of this podcast, and you did. And then it also went back to itself of, hey, yes, we have different lives and they are abnormal at times, but they're also normal. And I think a lot of celebrities, athletes, and all the families like that can relate to it. But like you said, there are people that are working jobs, men or women, that are all the time. They might be traveling on the road so much. COVID stopped some of that, but still normalcy. You're doing a lot of travel and you're just trying to navigate that relationship of being together, but also all the things that have to be done. And it's not just sitting with your feet up by the pool, drinking martini and eating truffles all day. Well,
Shit, I wish I could do that.
No, you know what, Kim? I've only spoken to you and only for the short time, and I bet that you would not like that. You would get bored with doing that. You'd like it at first, but then you would get bored.
It's so funny in the summer, like if the kids are not here for some reason, if the kids are like with my mom or whatever, and we'll be sitting by the pool, Randy's like, oh, come sit with me by the pool. It's so funny that you say that. And he's like, let's tan or something. So we're sitting there tanning, and then all of a sudden I start going, and I'm like, and I get up and I'm doing something or I'm picking something up, and he's like, you don't sit still. And I'm like, because there's a lot of things to be done, like I gotta cook dinner before these kids get home, it's like I can't just lay here and be cute. I can't do that. I don't have that luxury. But like so many people think that we do. People have that idea in their brain. It's like, oh, this guy's on TV forever. Oh, she must be like a spoiled brat. And I'm like, I'm looking for coupons on Retail Me Not, just because that's how I grew up. I'm not trying to pay full price for something.
But that's so true. I think what happens though too, Kim, is we see a lot on TV of the celebrity lifestyle, and even to a degree on social media. But also I think now with social media, it's showing a lot of the real sides of people too. Yeah. Whatever their profession or their famous celebrityism might be, right. which is cool. I really, this is so interesting to me that this Why Is It Wrestling podcast and what you are doing. I'm curious. It's you and your friend. Did you think about having 3 or 4, or no? Was it just having the 2 of you? And to follow up with that, Kim, do you think, and I know it just started, so everything's so new. Mm-hmm. Do you think that you might have guests on there?
Yes. 100%. There are so many other wives that we talk to that, we would love to have on. And we spoke to them and said, would you come on our show and just talk about whatever you want to talk about? And so many of them have, respond like, absolutely. Absolutely. And like, we talk to a lot of the girls in the back. And they're married and they have kids, and they're like, Becky, I was talking to her and I'm like, how do you do it? Like, you and Seth, you're on a bus with your baby and you're both working these big angles, and like, her daughter's adorable, but like, how do you do it? Like, I get that you want to have them close and around, but like, she's traveling to Saudi with her kid, like, she's sitting on the plane with the baby for 8-10 hour flights, and who Randy absolutely loves, by the way. He says, I get baby fever when I see her. And I'm like, take it easy. Take it easy. We have enough. But,
Yeah, you did come from a big family, though.
We got 5. That's enough. That is enough. We have one in his 2nd year of college, and we have one in preschool. We're good. We're so good.
So good. Oh, yeah. Kim, it's so cool. Hey, all right. So you come up with this idea, and you and Giovanna are doing this thing. And this to me right away, I just wanted the one big question I want to ask you.
Yes.
So when you're getting this ready and getting started, and this is all going, and you're like, okay, hey, Randy, this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm going to do. What is his reaction?
So when me and Giovanna were first talking about it, I kind of kept it on the low because I didn't want to scare him too quick. Anybody that knows Randy knows he's like an open book, right? He says shit that I'm like, oh, honey, like, but people like that about him. He's very forward, and Randy's the type of person too. It's like, don't ask his opinion if you don't want to hear his real opinion. He's not going to sugarcoat nothing for you, and he's going to be honest. And I'm the same way. And that's why I think that's like another thing that makes us click, you know? Sometimes it hurts because we're a little too honest. But so like, gosh, what did you just ask?
No, that's all right, Kim.
So how was he? Yeah.
Yes, okay, how was he reaction to, okay, you guys are doing this and all?
Yeah,
because even though, you're right, even though he's always been up front, if you're going to ask him some, but he also seems laid back too. He's not gonna put something out there just to put something out there. If you ask him, he'll tell you. Right. He also seems very reserved to a degree.
He is very reserved. He was very to himself, even at work. And when I met him, it was funny because I have such an outgoing personality that when he started bringing me around, it was weird because I just automatically started clicking with people. Like I remember Nikki and Bree were one of the first girls that I've met in the back. And I'm like, oh my God, hi. Da, 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 da. And just talking about, oh my God, I love your shoes, or your hair looks so good like that. You know, whatever, just like girl talk, right? And I remember him looking at me and going, wow, I'm not like that at all. And that he goes, you are exactly the same person, no matter who you're talking to. And that's really rare and really cool. And he did that. He said that to me once when I was talking to Linda McMahon by the ring. I'm like, oh yeah, and Jon Stewart was there, and I'm like, oh, and da 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 da, and yeah, my kids are starting school, and blah 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 blah. And he's like, I can't believe like you were so comfortable talking to her. And I'm like, well, she's a grandma and she has kids, and she knows, you know. But when we told our husbands that that's it, we're gonna do a podcast. Randy was like, of course you are. Of course you are. He's like, he goes, you might stick your foot in your mouth a couple of times. He goes, but it'll be fun to watch that too. And I'm like, thanks, honey. But he was cool with it. He was totally cool with it. And he was like, go do your thing. You're going to be good at it just because you have a likable personality. And, you're not afraid to say things, and you're not afraid to look silly or be funny or whatever. He's like, so like, this is right up your alley. So, and he was very, yesterday, I was like, watch the video. Like, I couldn't even watch it back. I was so nervous, right? And I'm like, watch the video and tell me what you think. I said, and be honest. I go, but be a little bit nice. And he called me back yesterday before he went into work, and he was like, baby, I'm so proud of you. He was like, you did so good. He goes, and you are just going to get more comfortable and better the more you do it. He goes, but like, I know you, and I know how nervous you were to do this, and I'm so proud of you. And I was like, okay. Like, if that's all I wanted was to make him proud of me, because, he's been doing something like this, you know what I mean? Not the podcast thing, but he's been doing this forever, and he's so good at it. So I didn't want to embarrass him, to be honest. I didn't want people to be like, oh my God, your wife's awful, or the shits or whatever, and him have to be like, I know. So it's nice that and I know he's sincere when he says it, because otherwise he wouldn't have said it. He would have
said, right. He would have gave you some good constructive criticism or something if he didn't believe that and all. He would have been cool about it, but he would have, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I could get that feeling that would have been what would have happened and all. He said that. And you got to remember, it's your first one too. Right. Even if it wasn't great, it's your first one. better to start off being okay and then build and get better and better and better anyway.
Right.
But if you start off good, that's good too. And you just grow and build from there. And the follow-up question, Kim, to that, will Randy be a guest on the show?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to have Randy on and Kurt on. And I don't know if we're going to do it at the same time. I think we get 3 shows out of it. I think we do a Randy show, a Kurt show, and then a together show.
Yes. You're thinking that's the way to do it. Yes. The creative mind.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's how we go about it. But he's totally down. He can't wait. You know, he wants to, and he said this, he's like, I want to support you however you need me to support you. He goes, because for 8 years, you've been supporting me. So it's like my turn to support you now. And I told him, I was like, I want to be your sugar mama. I was like, I want to spoil you now. And he's like, okay, do that. Go do that.
Yeah, he won't mind. He'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
All right, Kim, we're going to wrap it up. I didn't want to take too much of your time, but I so appreciate the time and all.
Oh, thank you.
I just think, hey, Kim, I just think it's so cool what you're doing. And we're going to want to ask about John Alba, because he's here, a Florida guy, Central Florida. He's done a lot of work. And I also, in talking about John, I did want to, because you did mention something like, oh my God, I was there, so I didn't want to watch it. You didn't want to watch it. But that's, Kim, that's the way to learn, is to go back and watch what you do. Even if you're like, oh, I don't like you got to watch it. You got to take time to watch it. That's just me adding something. But what are your thoughts of John, working with John, and then the process of, having to go back and watch it and just pick things out and not getting too overwhelmed either, because you don't want to change who you are.
Right. So John is awesome. And he comes from a big family, all girls. And so he's like, you know, the first time him and Giovanna got on the phone together, it was like we Zoomed each other and we're talking and we're like, oh, and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, I swear to God to you, I feel like I'm talking with my sisters. I grew up with girls like you. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And that's why, like, in the first episode, I'm like, John, you're like one of the girls. Like, don't take it the wrong way, but you're one of the girls. And, you know, he's so good at what he does. And, you know, before we did it, I remember calling him and saying, John, give me advice. Like, how should I be? Should I ask questions? What should I do? Da, 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 da. He goes, Kim, just be yourself. Don't overthink it. Just be yourself. He was like, because that's what people are going to get drawn to. And I'm like, well, that's what Randy said. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm going to take advice. And then after the first episode aired, and I was like, how was it? I can't watch it back yet. And he goes, watch it. It was really, really good. You're going to be proud of yourself. Watch it back. And I was like, all right, okay. And I watched it and I was like, oh my God, you guys, it was good. And like, I hate my own voice. I'm like, my voice didn't even bother me. But John is awesome. And we really appreciate having him on the show. He just makes it easy and he makes it flow, and he's like great to have a conversation with. And it feels like when we're doing the podcast, we're just having a conversation, and he just leads us to places. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Well, Kim, this is going to be so much fun. I so enjoyed speaking with you today. This was a blast. Oh my gosh. And I wrote a couple things down as you were discussing and we were talking and I was listening, and I have to, before I let you go, I have to just ask you this.
Tell me.
Why the mean picture of Randy in the background? Couldn't we get him smiling?
You know what's so funny? So this picture is from this guy, Jules, who he actually like cuts his hair here, and he cuts our kids' hair, but he's like this fantastic artist. He's so good. And I love this picture. He painted this picture for Randy, and he was like, "Oh, here, I painted this for you," and I thought it was so cool. And so he thinks it's so weird that I have a picture of him like standing behind me. He's like, "Why do you got that there?" You know, as you know, like Randy is the look at me kind of guy in the ring, right? And at home, not at all. Not at all. Like, you know, he's like hiding behind baseball caps, and you know, he's so different. He's so normal. He's so like, he's an introvert. It's so crazy. It's so wild. I'm like, honey, you might get mad at some of the things I might say about you because I might like ruin everyone's perception of you. But yeah, so this is a really cool picture, I think, of Randy. He thinks it's weird that I have it sitting behind me, but it's staying there. But I may get a couple. This was another thing too. I was telling, I said, every time we're gonna like talk about a topic, like if you let me know the day before, I can put some like cool pictures of, if we talk about when we got engaged or vacation or something, I could put cool pictures up back here and show them and stuff like that.
Yeah, people like that. Fans like that. And just in general, looking at the background and seeing stuff and all, it really, it makes it nice. It makes it really pop out a little bit. And
I gotta do it up a little bit more. I gotta do it up a little bit more. I got like the robot Terminator heads that we took from WrestleMania that Triple H came out with. I saw one. I saw a bin full of them in the back, and I was like, babe, look at the heads over there.
You know what's going to happen, Kim? A few years from now, you're going to be on that show, WWE Missing Treasures. I don't know if you ever saw that show, and they're going to want to track that down, and now we know where it is. I was
just joking. I don't have anything.
It's just for fun. That was just super for the just a little joke or whatever. You've got nothing.
I don't know nothing. I don't have nothing.
I see nothing. I know nothing. I hear nothing.
Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kim, I have to tell you, Kevin James was the king of queens. You're the queen of queens.
Yeah.
First of all. Second of all, now you're in the show me state. So you are the show me sister in the show me state.
Hey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tell fans, tell people, tell everybody just where they can find the podcast and give us some info there as we wrap up.
Every Monday, we're coming out with a new episode. You can Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever. YouTube. I think the YouTube channel might even be cooler than the podcast. Just because you get to see us, like you said, it's almost like a reality show sitting down. Yeah, you get to see us and our crazinesses and our facial weirdnesses. Yeah. But tune in on Mondays. We'll be coming out with new content every Monday, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to start having fan interactions too. We got a couple of games and stuff like in mind for everybody to come and join us and be a part of the show with us.
And that makes it so much more fun when you can have that interaction, that one-on-one right then and there. So everybody got check this out. It's going to be fun. Just watching this, oh my God, Kim is just great. So just check this all out, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Podcast Heat, for like getting us on your program and all that. And check us out. Come have a happy hour with us on Mondays. Everybody hates Mondays, but come have fun Mondays with us. Mondays is now fun days with Kim and Giovanna. We're gonna use that. Thank you. That's perfect. Monday's the new fun day.